I seriously started fighting demonic forces in my early 20s. I realized the spirit world and the physical world all function on certain vibrations and certain wavelengths. I realized spiritual influence is really vibrational influence and emotional manipulation, as well as mental fluctuation. I have been battling demonic forces for so long that I had begun to wonder, what is the point in this war, and what purpose does spiritual war serve beyond spiritual greed? We are human beings caught in the middle of a war that we cannot see and a war that we do not understand fully. True spiritual warfare is knowing where we stand and what we stand for, and what we are up against, and figuring out how to deal with what we are up against. The best way to fight true spiritual war is to understand that we have to possess more spiritual light instead of spiritual darkness. Anytime we wish to stand up against demonic forces, and we ourselves are demonic forces, we will not win against demonic forces because we are not possessing the light, we are possessing selfish darkness. We have to do our best to be the light in a dark world in order to stand against the vibrational spiritual darkness that we face each and every day. The best way to be the light in this world and to fight spiritual war is to be less selfish and to give in less to human needs. And that way, we can be prepared by not needing the world. And then we are less likely to be tempted by the world, which is what the demonic forces tempt us with. The battle against spiritual darkness and spiritual warfare all start in the mind and the imagination and with the emotions. When we realize everything we do, think and feel has everything to do with our strength in the spiritual war, then we will begin to understand how we can harness spiritual light. And the only way to harness spiritual light is to be less worldly. We will always be a little worldly, but we can be less worldly so we can have more spiritual energy to battle the spiritual darkness in this life. We will always be a certain kind of selfish, but we can be less selfish so we can have spiritual strength to battle spiritual demonic selfish forces by being the light against the darkness. Spiritual darkness and demonic forces have one purpose, and that is to feed on spiritual energy. And we can be the light by feeding less on the world and by feeding less on spiritual energy. We can still gain spiritual energy from God and heaven, but that's not feeding on light, that's receiving light. And there is a difference between receiving spiritual light and feeding on spiritual light. Receiving spiritual light is when we receive something to help us do battle against the darkness. Feeding on spiritual light is when we assist spiritual dark forces in consuming spiritual light. I continue to fight this spiritual war and will continue to fight the spiritual war by trying to do my best to be a light in a dark world.